In May 2016, the explorer, who goes only by the handle Todd Todson, published the photos of his expedition on the image-sharing website Imgur. But he is technically a trespasser as well as an artist. So wisely, he and his group have chosen to keep their identities hidden. His journey into the underworld began with a claustrophobically narrow passageway. One side was flanked by solid rock, the other by a wooden wall. Here and there, debris was strewn across the floor. In fact, this was the entrance, and armed with a flashlight, Todd Todson and his group proceeded into the gloom. The explorers subsequently arrived at a series of large, rusty air vents fitted lengthways into the wall. At the end of the corridor, someone had removed the last one, exposing an opening to the other side. They shone their flashlights into the portal, and then, one by one, they clambered in. However, beyond the vent, the cave became so low and tight that the explorers were forced to crouch. At their feet, the floor was piled high with quarried rocks, and behind them, reaching down into the shadows, a ladder invited them to explore. After descending the ladder, they arrived in a network of corridors. All of a sudden, you're inside some kind of room, Todd Todson later wrote on Imgur. Walking out of the room leads you to a large hallway. Along the hallway, we found these large rooms. In fact, Sweden maintained an outward position of political neutrality throughout the Cold War. Secretly, however, it kept close military ties with NATO, and the legacy of that era includes numerous bases, a number of them underground, and some apparently were quite large. We suddenly found room 3, wrote Todd Todson. Holy moly, this room had to be about 50 meters or so in length. Inside the room was so vast and empty that it rippled with phenomenal echoes. It was pretty much impossible to talk to each other due to the echoing. Meanwhile, it was worth noting that Todd Todson's photos were shot in darkness using flashlights, a tripod, and a very long exposure setting. For example, this image of a long dark tunnel with a nightmarish figure at the end uses shadow to great effect. It's appropriately called Cool Selfie. Surprise, surprise, the tunnel splits in two, wrote Todd Todson. Perfect opportunity for some cool photos. Indeed, and the most interesting element of this nicely composed shot is the arrow painted on the wall right next to the man with the porcelain face. So then, which tunnel would he take? Both of them, of course. In the first tunnel, they discovered a couple more magazines, but they were boring and small, wrote Todd Todson. So the group backtracked and explored the other tunnel. There, they found further rooms. With all these large rooms, wrote Todd Todson, there's plenty of space for parties, raves, and other type of fun activities. Absolutely, and it would make a great film location too. In fact, the bunker appears to be quite solid and serviceable. Indeed, it could still be put to many uses. You see that red and white behind my friend, wrote Todd Todson? That's where the humongous concrete door is. No idea why that's needed there, maybe in case of a zombie outbreak? Well, whatever it was designed to keep in or out, those metal doors to the sides are blast doors. They withstand the high energy impacts. Eventually, the explorers arrived at the final tunnel and what was probably once the official entrance to the complex. This is the end of the underground base, Todd Todson explained. The entrance is sealed shut with thick concrete, and unless you get tons of power tools, you ain't getting through. Mission accomplished. The explorers traced their route back to the air vent and the tunnel where they'd snuck in. What's more, if you enjoyed these images, you can always check out Todd Todson's Instagram account, where he manages under the alias MikeMiz92. Some of his images, such as this one, document his exploration of abandoned and decaying buildings. The context of this image is unclear, but as ever, the photographer has used shadows and darkness to emphasize texture and mood. He posted with the comment, "Back from my hiatus." Meanwhile, this image was taken in a partially constructed car tunnel. It appears that the explorers found the builder's lights and switched them on. The beam emanating from the rig is powerful enough to illuminate a large section of the tunnel. What's more, the shadows cast by its textures create a watery effect. And this image is filled with drama and grandiosity. The high dome chamber has an operatic feel, suggesting a gothic vampire lair. Meanwhile, a silhouetted figure stands on the threshold of a fortress-like doorway, leading to who knows what or where. This final image was titled Sunset at My Favorite Place. Once again, the exact location has been kept private, but it appears to be somewhere near Stockholm. Who knew that Sweden had so much to offer urban explorers?